What is up, folks? I am Brian, and today I'm going to be checking out one of the cheapest lithium iron phosphate batteries that I've had in this garage to test out. And this supposedly comes with low temp charging protection too. So let's get it out of this box, let's do some testing on it, and then we can determine if that low price point actually is worth it. So let's try to get this thing out, and it does weigh 57 pounds. And here we go. That is it. Nothing else in the box. I don't see any terminal bolts unless they're already installed. Okay, cool. So it does come with terminal bolts. They are M8s. However, most of my batteries come with Phillips head bolts and lock washers. This is just a standard bolt. So not that that really matters, but a little bit different bolts than normal. So obviously, folks, this is a 200 amp hour battery from GoldenMate. It is a lithium iron phosphate battery, and this thing right now is going for 549 bucks on Amazon as of the date that I'm recording this video. So I'll put a little screenshot up there just to prove to you that that's the price of it right now. And that price puts this at around 21 cents per watt hour, which is technically the cheapest battery that I've ever tested out here. So it's your standard lithium iron phosphate. It's got 4,000 rated cycles to 100% depth of discharge. So that means you can go from 100 to 0 4,000 times before you degrade the capacity of this unit to around 80%. If you don't discharge that much, you're just going to increase the life cycle. So my advice to you folks using these batteries is try not to completely deplete these batteries when you use them. Maybe go to 30, 40, 50% and then recharge them. You're just gonna keep these batteries healthier a little bit longer. This thing has a 120 amp discharge rating, so keep that in mind. That normally 200 amp hour batteries have a 200 amp BMS. This only has 120 amp BMS, so you're gonna get a little over 1,500 watts worth of output. So depending on what you're gonna be using this for, just keep that in mind. This isn't gonna get you your full 200 amps. Now the kicker for this thing is, of course it's got its standard BMS with over temp protection, over charge protection, over discharge protection, all the standard BMS features that are in all lithium iron phosphate batteries. However, this one claims that it's got low temp charging protection, meaning that you won't be able to charge this battery if it gets below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a good feature if you're gonna be using this up in the colder climates. Unfortunately, here in Texas, that doesn't really matter. I wish it did, but I want to see what they shipped this unit at in terms of charge. So let's get my meter cut on. Okay, and it arrived at 13.39 volts. Alrighty, folks, well, I've got the battery completely topped off. We're sitting at 14.32 volts, so we're at 100% charged. I've got my app cleared out on my phone, so we'll be able to get an accurate reading. And while I get this thing set up, a couple of things I wanted to explain to you folks also about this battery is you can connect up to 4 of these in series or parallel. It's got a 2-year warranty, which is a little bit less than average on some of these batteries. Some of them are 5 years, some are 7, whatever, but this has got a 2-year warranty tied to it. So I just wanted to mention that before I forget, but let's go ahead and get this discharge test running so we can make sure that we're able to get the rated capacity out of this battery. So like usual, I'm gonna hook up my light bulb array to this inverter. I'm gonna get it cut on, and we are gonna start this test. So we're pulling very minimum, 22 amps, 320 watts. And I'm gonna come back and check when those light bulbs are not burning anymore, and we will see how many watts we're able to pull out of this battery. Well, we hit low voltage disconnect and the inverter actually cut down. It started beeping at around 4 a.m. this morning, but I was able to pull out of this battery 212 amp hours. So down there in the lower corner, you can see 212 amp hours. So overall, pretty impressed with the fact that this thing is rated for 200 amp hours, and we got 12 more amp hours and probably could have squeezed a little bit more out of it if the inverter didn't actually shut down due to low voltage. All right, so I got my heat gun here, and again, this battery is rated at 120 amp continuous discharge. So let's kick this heat gun on full blast and keep an eye here on the clamp meter to see where we get at. Probably a little over 120 amps right at the beginning. Yeah, 127, 126, 125, 124, Okay, so we're hovering around 125 amps, and that is pulling 1,580 watts. See if I can dial this down just a hair. Okay, that looks like it's going back and forth pretty frequently, but I'm hovering right at around, on average, 117, 119 amps. I'm gonna let this run for about 5 minutes to make sure everything works well and this thing doesn't explode on us. All right, it's been about 7 minutes with this thing running, and I'm still pulling on average around 116 amps now, so the battery's doing fine. I'm gonna turn this thing all the way up now, and I'm gonna add about 20 more amps to this battery with this light bulb array. See how that handles it. That's putting us at 160 amps right now. $40 more amps over the rated max discharge. Let's see how long it'll last, if it'll cut off. And that is actually, oh, that's hot. That is pulling 1,968 watts. Okay, I'm gonna cut this test off. That's actually a little bit surprising considering, again, this is 120 amp discharge rated. And I've only got a 2200 watt inverter here, so I was only 200 watts from the max capability of this inverter. So I'm gonna say this is a pass for the discharge rate. I think that did pretty well. It held at 120 amps for about 7 minutes, and it ran for about 2 minutes running 160 amps. So that's not too bad for this little cheap, budget-friendly battery. All right, folks, well, moment of truth. Just pulled this battery out of the deep freezer. It's been in there for around 20 hours at -2 degrees. So this battery should definitely be below freezing. So we're gonna get this charger hooked up and see if it will take a charge. And it's not. Wow. So the battery is not charging, so I can confirm that it does have low temp charging protection built into it. That's pretty amazing for a battery of this price point. So kudos, GoldenMate. So let's break it down now, folks. There is nothing with this battery that I find wrong with it. It does lack a few features of the more expensive batteries, like Bluetooth capabilities or even a higher BMS, like 200 amps. But 120 amps is pretty sufficient for a 12.8 volt battery, allowing you to run on average 1,500 watts or more, as you can see through this test. I ran 160 amps for about 2 or 3 minutes, which is a lot. And if you're gonna be running that many amps off a 12.8 volt battery, you're gonna spend a ton of money on large cabling to support that current going through it. And again, this is going right now on Amazon with the $50 off coupon for 549 bucks. 21 cents a watt hour. So I do think that's a pretty good deal. Now, you only get 2 years of warranty on this battery, and that is of the lower end of warranties that I've seen on a lot of other lithium iron phosphate batteries. Typically, they're around 5 up to 10 years. So 2 years is a little short of the mark, I think, but it's a budget-friendly battery, and you're not gonna get all the perks, in my opinion, on something of this price point. So yeah, I can't really knock it for anything. I think it's a pretty decent little choice if you just need a very cheap 200 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. So folks, I hope you found that little review useful, and if you have any questions about it, shoot me a comment. I will leave a link for this battery in the video description below if you want to check it out. Price may fluctuate after this video is released. I can't control that. Anyway, thanks for watching. We will see you soon. Take care.